Hello, my name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. These are now around 2 to 4 minute, sometimes as long as 6 to 10 minute observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 2 to 4 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book your coworker won't stop raving about because it quote-unquote changed their life, but you can't see any difference in their leadership behavior. So how good could that author be? From the time of Moses to the emperors of Rome, and from the kings of the Middle Ages to the industrialists, technocrats, and bureaucrats of our chaotic early 21st century, there is one thing that people in power, no matter where they are or when they are, dislike most of all. God, or Yahweh, declares in the book of Psalms that he alone, quote, holds kings' hearts in the palm of his hand and moves them like water, close quote. By the way, in the book of Exodus, it was God who hardened Pharaoh's heart every time Moses requested that the Israelites be let go to worship him in the desert. And, because two things can be true at the exact same time, the apocryphal words at the end of the book of Judges, in that hoary old book that defies the algorithm, the Bible, still ring down a warning to our own hyper-educated and postmodern age. And the children of Israel departed thence at that time, every man to his tribe and to his family. And they went out from thence, every man to his own inheritance. In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. By the way, proving that postmodern relativism isn't really postmodern at all. Anyway, every man a king in his own house, all the way to the kings of our own time. One of the many things that they share in common is an inability to listen to and accept feedback from the people they rule over. This is why even Louis XIV, he of the Sun King fame, would have had a problem with Twitter. This is why freedom of speech is declared and explicit in the Constitution of the United States. The Founding Fathers knew that even though the Magna Carta had brought the King of England down a peg or two, the tendency of rulers towards pride and arrogance could only be amended by ensuring that every citizen of the Republic has the responsibility, not the right, to use their voice, to use their speech, to check the person who believes they rule. With free speech, every man can speak ill and leverage the voice of demons and Luciferian destruction, for sure. Gossip, deceit, manipulation, these things all come with freedom of speech. And, with free speech, every man can check the tyrannical and satanic ambitions of those who believe it is their right to rule. There are consequences to having freedom of speech, for sure, but there are even worse consequences to abrogating that freedom in favor of safety, social cohesion, and ultimately totalitarian conformity. Let us all have access and bear responsibility to wield the voice of God. And well, that's it for me. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast today. And now that you've made it this far, you should subscribe to the audio version of this show on all the major podcast players, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are available. There's also a video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the Leadership Toolbox channel on YouTube. Just search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button there on YouTube. And while you're doing that, leave a 5-star review if you like what we're doing here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just go below the player and hit 5 stars. We need those reviews to grow, and it's the easiest way to help grow this show. And tell all your friends, of course, in leadership. By the way, if you don't like what we're doing here, well, you can always listen to another leadership show. There are several other good ones out there. At least that's what I've heard. All right. Well, that's it for me.